Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, and we're live. Cool. And oh, I can hear myself. Okay, I'm also very late, which is not as cool. So that's unfortunate, but hey, that happens, right? Yeah, yeah. So some days, I'm able to get on early and get everything all set up. Other days, I'm running late and have to do a little bit of promotion beforehand. And today's one of those fun days where I get to set up early, and I had everything pre-prepared, but I'm still late, so that's life. All right. And unfortunately, well, I guess maybe fortunately, we'll see. I don't really have much of a plan today. I'm just gonna kind of wing it. You know what? I might honestly, unless someone wants to come in and ask for, help on any particular homework, school-related thing, probably just default back to my standard on talking about finance, 'cause it's fun. It's interesting. It's weird. Because money is both money and not money, you know? Yeah. I think we'll do that today. Oh shoot, I gotta get ready. Oh my gosh, timer's already on. Alright, hold on, let me put on my face. That's always such a funny term. Put it on your face. But I guess that's kind of what it is, like a VTuber, right? Do they say that in like theater? Where, before they get into costume? That's like put on their face and like, get into character. But it's funny because normally there, it's like you have a costume, maybe, but your face is the same. But you have to change your personality, right? But, for VTubing, it's kind of the opposite. Where you're using a completely different face, but you might just have like the same personality. So your character is almost like how do I put it? Rather than like a play or a production where you use your face to represent like another character from a different story in another world, it's more like a character in another world telling your own story. It's quite silly. Alright. Yeah, let's see. I'm just gonna double check my notes really quick. And yep, I'm out of ideas until the next year. So I know the cracks are already starting to show in this production. So let's just get on to finance. Ooh, here's something fun. Okay. Oh wait, let me post my spiel. Bam. There it is. So if anyone wants free tutoring, right? No money, no charge. I mean, you have to like talk to show up. So I guess it's not like a delivery tutor service. It's not quite like you order, oh hey, I need help with homework, and then you like call it in. Oh, a little bit of flickering. Does that look like a phone? Yeah. It's not like you're able to call it in and say like, yeah, I need help with this assignment, and then I like mail you a package of like all these notes and tips and tricks and say, here you go, take it for free. Although, hold on, as absurd as this example is of like tutoring, technically, right, everything I do is getting uploaded onto YouTube afterwards. So if it's like a digital package, I guess. Yeah, I guess it is. This is an app description. Never mind. I thought it was ridiculous saying like, oh yeah, free tutoring is kind of like something you have to like show up and do. But technically, right? Someone could never go on my stream and go on YouTube and check out all the stuff that I had to talk about. All the things about finance, about book reports, about the writing process, about unit, well, not all about unit circles, but you know, a thing about unit circles, about algebra. I don't think I did calculus yet. Yeah, it's always fun. Okay, so never mind. Yeah, you can do whatever. The world's a big, free place. Alright, whoops. But going on to today's, I guess, pseudo lesson is just me going to ramble on once again about finance because it's math related, right? I'm pretty sure it is. I think something that's more like financial just appears if I went over like the parts of a check, which is kind of funny because I know someone who didn't really know about what checks were and how these things worked. And like, you know, what this was, what this was, the numbers and all these things and what I write here and all that stuff. Like, it was never went over with them. And so, you know, that might be helpful. But of course, it's better if someone, you know, were to request that, then yeah, for sure. And I think last time we had a wonderful viewer come by and request things about the areas using pi. I'm assuming unit circles, I'm assuming other stuff. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get to it, to prepare something for that. But I'll get to that maybe next week, I hope. Well, yeah, I'll talk about next week later. Well, let's get on to the more entertaining stuff. Alright, money. So, money is a thing, which I think you might know, United States, that's represented in physical form by dollar bills, right? That seems kind of obvious. However, people can kind of get this twisted, right? There's this very simple formula of what money is, where, you know, this is equal to the dollar. Sure. But then you can also get it twisted and say like, well, what about this thing I have? All right, let's say collectible card. All right. So let's put in Charizard. All right, and that's a dollar symbol. He's like the first edition. How do they look like? Like an angry dragon? Arr. What's a Logan Paul Charizard? That's kind of funny. Also, hi and welcome. Hazmat TV. Nice for you to join us. Yeah, normally I have like a proper tutoring plan. Well, actually I shouldn't say normally. When I'm able to come up with one. But today I didn't have one, so I'm just kind of rambling on about money. Again, if you want help with any math, homework stuff, just feel free to say so, and we could kind of jump on towards that. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going on about this. Yeah, and also hey to you too. Alright, so Charizard, right? And some people can get it twisted and say like, well, yeah, the Charizard equals money too, right? This thing has a $100 value. I was like, wow, that's great. I see it all on TCG Player, and it's just like this valuable thing I got. Cool. But the thing is that there's a little snag here. It's not a direct correlation. Because see, in order to have this money, you know, go into an account or to buy things, Logan Paul is a bit of a jerkwad YouTuber. He owns a first edition Charizard. He got valuated at like 5 million. Wow! I've never heard of that. Alright, well then let's work with those numbers. That's wild! 5 million. Alright. That's insane. Wow, 5 million for a cardboard. I dig it. Alright, well, I mean, hey, if he's the jerkwad YouTuber, then that means that the guy who sold it to him got the 5 million. And that's That's the real winner there. Because, yeah, with money, you can interchange it for goods, right? But for the Charizard, you can't really change it for like a washer or a drying machine. Was this like a t-shirt? Yeah. You can't really change the Charizard into like a piece of bread and exchange it for someone for that. And the same problem can actually happen with precious metals. Like if you have like a big old bar of gold, you can't like really scrape off flakes to say, okay, I'm gonna trade you this much for like, a quarter pounder with cheese. Ooh. No kidding. Septi turned it into an NFT and made money on it, telling people they could own part of it, as if they were buying stocks in the Charizard. Oh, NFTs are fun. Okay, I can go on that about later. Let me just write this down as a note. As a stock. Okay. Stock? Alright. But yeah, like... Okay, yeah, I'd love to get into that soon. But yeah, I just gotta finish this kind of analogy example. Because the thing that kind of comes in between you trading the Charizard for money is another person. And that other person has to decide, well, what are they going to accept as a value? Is it going to be gold? If they'll take gold, then you might be in the right business, right? If you have a gold bar, this person accepts gold, and then they're willing to trade you like goods and services for it, then okay, hey, that technically works, right? I don't know how someone would, give them pieces of a Charizard for goods and services, but if there is a way to physically do that, that might work. However, that is generally not the case. So usually it is money that equals money. And there's a lot of examples where people kind of think, well, this thing equals money, this other thing equals money. Not quite. Now, I could flow this into another example with, I think, stocks, but let's jump into NFTs, because that's wild and fun. Alright. Now, if I recall correctly, NFT is a non-fungible token. Kind of like well, I know people were joking that it's like just an image, and that, if you have like an NFT of, what was it, the monkey? Well, let's use the Charizard. I know there's a monkey thing, but let's just copy this, right? If you have this super beautifully drawn and illustrated citizen Charizard, how could anyone possibly copy and paste it? That's insanity. It's a digital good. There's no way anyone could do that. That doesn't exist. I'm kidding. But technically, if I recall, that kind of works in that, say for example, you have cards, right? And let's go with let's switch over to Magic the Gathering. And I remember there's this controversy about the One Ring, right? In a similar example. And I don't know who got this one, but there's like the One Ring and it was a card, and they started doing something different, because normally what they had is they had these cards and maybe there'd be like hollows, there'd be, different sets. But for here, they actually had like a stamp. Like this would be printing number 1 of 100, right? And then this would be printing number 2 of 100, and so on. And there'd be only like 100 copies of this kind of card in this edition with this art that was like super special. And then they had like another one, which is called, I think, still the One Ring. And in that one, it was only 1 of 1. So they only ever made one of this card, and it had the stamp to prove it, right? And it had all this fancy art. Wow, cool. So for that one, that had like the maker's mark kind of stamp to say this is the only one in the world, and that's it, right? Now, as a plain piece, as a piece of cardboard, this One Ring is equal to an unstamped number One Ring, right? If anyone gets another copy, and they're able to play it in a tournament. And without the maker's marks or anything, that would still count, right? If they do a reprint and it doesn't have maker's marking, that would still count. You could use that in a tournament setting. And in a tournament setting, you can kind of consider that like maybe the world of money, right? Like a how do I put it? $51 bills still equals one $50 bill. It's the same amount, it's the same value, it still functions the same. You can buy the same goods and services, but this one's considered more special. Although some people like to see big wads of cash. In that sense, as a good, it is maybe laughable to think, oh, wow, why would anyone do anything special for that? You can't, like, you know, it's just a thing. Like, you can get any color, any edition, and you could still play the game. So, you know, why settle for the super expensive rare version when you can just kind of get, like, whatever, and still play as well, right? And so here is where someone introduces something called scarcity, where they make it kind of rare and they say this is the only part, this is the only piece of the thing. And, you know, there's only one, right? And so the way that non-fungible tokens work is it's kind of like that with the maker's mark, in that, yes, you can copy and paste it, but it's going to have that missing maker's mark on it to designate it as unique and part of that thing. So if you only have a certain set, if you only have a certain numbers, they all have these, I guess, data within it to identify it as this is the original. And not only that, within these things is the ledger that contains the trades that's publicly available. So, say for example, I'm gonna jump to a different one. Blood diamonds. I know, crazy, but bear with me. In parts of the world, does that look like a country? Sure, why not? In a nondescript country, they mine for a mineral that's a diamond, right? And it's super rare, super valuable, super precious. And then they kind of launder it, and they kind of trade it and move it about. And they say, okay, well, you don't know where this originated from, but somehow it ends up in the shop, in a boutique, and it's like, wow, look at this rare and special precious diamond, right? And then they sell it for money. Cool. Well, I mean, it's not cool, but in that way, you know, there is a kind of a mystery. Well, how did this get here? Who mined it? Where did it come from? What is the history of this? How old is it? You know, who chiseled at it? Who made it perfect? And so with a lot of goods that we have currently in the physical world, there isn't really a clean, nice way to kind of keep track of things and where they originated from, whose hands did it touch, how did it get here, well, how did it get processed, things like that, right? But in the weird world of NFTs, the item itself has kind of in itself a ledger showing where things go. It shows, you know, who made it, where did it come from, where does it go, what time, and all those little details. In that it's kind of like a, what is it? I think it's called like the golden ledger. I think that's the phrase, where in that anything is trackable. Now, what may be the value in that? It's just like, okay, so now we know it's like legit. This isn't like a fake one, you can't really fake it. Alright, cool. So what? Well, that kind of counters another point that Magic the Gathering has, where in that there's counterfeits, right? And there's a lot of things you could do to identify a counterfeit. So say, for example, if you have a card and it has like little symbols on the top, right? And you zoom in really close to those. And you look at the little details on it, right? I think, I forget how it is, but let's say, for example, what's one? I think it's like a sun. That's a poor looking sun, but I'm gonna use it anyways. Yeah. I think they actually have like spikes like this. Alright. So, when you look at a real card, an authentic one, the grain and the texture and the way that the ink kind of overlaps creates a very special impression where it looks very clean, and there's hardly any kind of blur to it. There's no real spots, things like that. And there's that. However, for a counterfeit, what would happen is that there'd also blah 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 blah. If I recall, again, it's been a while since I looked into this kind of stuff. The ink wouldn't be really clean like this. It'd actually be kind of like layered and have like these little bubbles, kind of like how old magazines used to have, or comics. And you kind of see the separation and how it was printed. And so in that way, you know, yes, there are tools to identify counterfeits, and there are ways in which, you know, there can be poor counterfeits. But it's still, I guess, a major issue for these card games, for these things that are supposed to have value and you're supposed to be able to trade them, because there are people who want to sell it and undercut it at a low price and say, well, you know, here's this piece, but it's not a real piece. And so, you know, maybe you could use it just for fun, but you can't really use it in a tournament. And if you consider the tournament like the free market in a way, then yeah, you can use Monopoly Money Among Friends, or just say, you know, write IOU notes and just say, hey, yeah, thank you for helping me move my furniture. Here's an IOU. Love you, bro. Right? There's that. But no one's going to accept that IOU as like legal tender for goods and services if you go to like McDonald's. So among friends, maybe counterfeits are okay, but among actual trade, it's not in that way. To go back to NFTs, what these do is that these prevent counterfeiting, because these things have the ledger, because they have a unique identifier that is publicly visible. Then the ability to counterfeit is kind of non-existent. And so that's kind of what has people excited about it. They're just like, oh yeah, this is unique, this is great. Oh, I can't counterfeit it. This is legit, right? Oh, this is the real thing. Look how traceable it is. But then if you zoom out and you kind of squint at it, you realize, oh, wait a minute, it's kind of just a JPEG, ain't it? It's just a little picture. Why do you need to prevent counterfeiting of a picture? That's kind of silly, right? So, you know, I think for the layperson, yeah, it makes sense. This is silly, because it is. But for someone who's maybe into art and like, you know, the original Van Goghs, right? They don't want just a copy print to put on the wall. They want the original thing that like is falling apart and you know, poorly maintained. But doesn't matter because it's original. That's where they kind of are looking at this kind of thing, NFTs, and thinking, wow, this is nifty. But again, because it's all digital, there's also how do I put it? Yes, it's traceable. Yes, you cannot counterfeit it, or at least not easily, not that I know of. But also, how does it become practical? What is the point? It's all digital, right? What if it gets deleted? What if it gets misplaced or lost on a hard drive or something, right? And there's all these arguments against it, which, funnily enough, can be arguments against like wall art. If you have like a painting, and there's been stories about people finding a painting maybe in their attic, and then there's like another painting that's hidden behind it, and they're like, oh wow, this is weird, I've never seen this before. Or they just never really thought of it, because, you know, they just treat it like something in storage. And they find it later and they realize, oh wow, this is a really fancy painting, and it's worth a lot of money. What am I gonna do with it? Does that look like a mustache? No, that looks like a smiley face. What's something fancy? There you go, little goatee. Let's give him a beret too. Alright. So a lot of the arguments that could be used for these digital manufactured scarcity goods could be used for physical manufactured scarcity goods, and could also be used for just scarce physical goods. But it's usually not something essential. But because people assign value to these things, like apparently, I can't believe it, $5 million. That's so wild. Yeah, alright, and they said that they could own part of it as if they're buying stocks. Alright, now I can go into stocks a little bit. but I'll work my way there. Um, again, it's still not money though. Cash is king, because yes, the Charizard may be worth 5 million, but you have to be able to give it to someone who would exchange that into the 5 million. With cash, you can usually give it to a bank to break a bill into smaller bills. In that sense, you know, every grocery store, a lot of stores, they are technically little tiny banks where you can give them a higher bill, they could break it into smaller bills, and so forth, right? Everyone kind of has this system. And so, you know, maybe if there's like a Charizard bank where you could trade into like other lesser edition of Charizards, maybe that could work. I don't know, but that's not a thing, so you can. Now, are NFTs stocks, right? Because some people might think, oh yeah, it's a stock. I'm buying a part of it, a piece of it. Like there's, you know, maybe the one NFT to rule them all, and then it like, you know, subdivides into other NFTs that I could get. So I can get like this piece of it. I'll get this corner. You get the part with the head on it. I don't know, right? So the person gets like the wing, and this person gets like the one. Yeah. Alright, now is it like a stock? And a stock is kind of weird. And that again, it's not... It's kind of more like an IOU than an actual thing. Say, for example, there is a company, right? They have a building. They have employees. They have tools, like a coffee machine, right? Let's see. Yeah, it looks nice. Alright. They have physical goods. They have maybe a physical service where they do notary work. Sure, why not? They look at documents and they stamp them, right? So, if that is a publicly traded company and they have stocks for sale, and you have a brokerage or some kind of means to be able to buy and invest that with your cash, some kind of middleman, then you can say, all right, then I owe this part of the IOU of this company, right? And let's say, for example, the company goes well. It goes great. Things are amazing. Then the IOU value goes up, and then you could resell it for cash. Maybe you get it for, I don't know, what's a nice number? Let's go from 10 to 20, right? Cool. You buy a stock for $10. You just want to dip your toe in the water. Something happens in the company. There's a lot of documents that need to be signed. A lot of people are filling out their wills and you know, giving away their goods to their friends and loved ones, Christmas, whatever, and they all need to have it all signed and stamped, giving away cars, whatever. I don't know. Then their valuation goes up because they're having lots of business. Business is good. Maybe they try to rebuy their stocks, so then they try to increase value. And now you, as holding this owl, you can say, wow, it's $20. But then you get greedy and you think, I can hold on to it for a little bit longer, right? If it can go 2 times, why can't it go 2 times again? Why not $40? Why not $80? Why not $160, right? And your mind kind of goes in that way. But don't. Because it's an IOU. You got to take your wins. Or as they say, know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Because, let's say in this theoretical example, that they work too much, right? They over-invested into their staff, they train them all, and then business just is cut out because the holiday season is over, it's done, they have to sell back, maybe they went too hard in the paint, and they're filing for bankruptcy. Well, they can go all the way down to 0. And again, because it's an IOU, you don't get a piece of the company, right? You don't get to take this person with you home and say, hey, you're worth $20. Yeah, you're coming with me, you know? Or like, oh man, I lost all my money, but you know, now I can buy everything for cheap. Now I own the company for maybe $1, right? Now, but you're not going to get the coffee machine. You're not going to get the building. You're not going to get their stamps. You're really left with nothing except this IOU. And so that's kind of what stocks are, in that you cannot translate the money that you put into it into a physical piece of that pie. It's kind of just the IOU, and it has kind of an estimated valuation that generally other people would agree to pay for it, right? If you meet some madman who says, yeah, I'll pay you $20 for everything, then, you know, that's his deal, and you can do that, right? But if you're selling it to a free market and then there's a system where everyone kind of agrees, now you can't really sell it for more than that because no one wants to buy it, then you're stuck at zero. But what about NFTs? Do they kind of work the same? Is it kind of like that? In a way, yes, but also no. Because the weird thing is that it depends on how it's subdivided, right? If it is a whole piece, if I understand correctly, and it's like kind of cut into little pieces, in this way it's more like you actually own like a physical piece of the card, like a digital piece, right? It's still not the actual card. You don't hold it in your hand. You can't like smell the cardboard. This is still an NFT. But as far as a digital good, you actually own that piece. That little one symbol, that's yours, right? That coffee maker, the digital coffee maker, or you know, PNG of the coffee maker, it's actually in your possession. It's like a physical digital good that you can hold and have possession of and lose possession of, or just outright lose. If you like lose a hard drive, it could be gone forever. And so when it comes to a lot of you know, those idea of digital goods, yeah, it can be totally easy to dismiss, because again, right now it is just pictures and images, right? Kind of lame. Kind of lame. Like who'd want to own a number one? And again, if you own that, hey, I'm not trying to discourage or disparage you. If you take part in that, that is fine. But I think it can be bigger, and it's moving towards something else. And I'll get to that in a bit. But for this example, the NFT, you actually own that physical good, and then it could be whatever value, right? It could go up to 100, it could go down to 0. It doesn't matter, because as far as that digital good is concerned, you have complete ownership of it. So unlike this example with the stock, where you have a piece of the company, and you can't get, it's only the monetary value because it's an IOU, and you can never ever get the coffee maker. Here, you always have that one piece, and it doesn't matter what the value goes. You can use it or lose it. And I think a better parallel, rather than a stock, is actually something different. And I would say it's like the Steam marketplace. Marketplace. And I gotta move my head. So, I'm gonna delve into a little bit of a game that I know called TF2. I gotta love it, aka the Hat Simulator. Wait, where's my head? Can I put a hat on? Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a gibbous. Alright, so for TF2, you have these hats and you have these digital goods, right? Technically meaningless, right? They're digital goods. They're like a PNG, but you know, they might change the gameplay a little bit with if you trade weapons and stuff. But I mean, a strange whatever ultra gun thing is still going to perform exactly the same as another kind of gun that you could buy for like less than $1, right? But because it's shiny, because it's new, it can have perceived value. And you can go onto the Steam marketplace and actually trade this for Steam dollars. And it's not like actual cash in that you can, again, trade it for other goods outside of this marketplace. You can't trade really a hat for money unless you use a third-party site that's unenforced, and then you could get ripped off, just saying. But you could. However, in this example, in the Steam marketplace, you have a digital good. Right, let's say you have, I don't know. Let's just do well, I don't want to do a famous hat. Let's just do a lame one. There we go. Is that even a hat? No, no, no. Let's do one of the pets. I don't know. The penguin one. Alright. So you have this little digital penguin that you could put on your character, right? And it's a digital good. There are many like it, but this one is yours, right? And maybe it has some kind of special quality. Maybe they're only in like limited release. Maybe it has like a special skin. I don't know. They're doing a lot of crazy things since I last played. But what you can do is you can actually trade that to other people, and you have that good, right? Whether this thing goes up in value or down in value in the Steam marketplace, whether they start saying, oh yeah, this is a super rare thing, it's you know, $50, right? Or they say, oh, you know what, they actually re-released it, and it's like now they're, you know, these people, you're able to get it, and they found like this weird hack where you can like craft these two hats together to always get this one item, and now it's down to like, you know, 30 cents. Regardless of what the price is, you still have this digital good. And again, it's not like a physical good in that you can like touch it, but it's like a digital physical good. I don't know how else to describe it, in that there is a type of scarcity where you cannot reproduce it because you won't have the means to actually copy and paste items in TF2 to kind of duplicate items as like a glitch, but you can trade it, right? And it's something that you can buy and sell. And regardless of the value, you can still buy and sell it. You still have the physical thing. And it actually has a performance in the thing that you're doing, right? It stands on your shoulder, and let's see, what does the spy look like? Like that, with a cigarette. Right, sits right on the shoulder. Bam. So no matter what, you can always have that, and basically until the game shuts down, right? Which may happen at some point. But I mean, I don't think like it'll happen anytime soon. The game's been going on for like, oh gosh, over a decade, maybe decades at this point. I forget. But all things come to an end, and at some point this will be something you can no longer access, right? Just like how people are no longer able to access the penny, even with money. But aside from that point, what I'm trying to say is that here you have the digital good that is applicable and usable within this digital marketplace and within this digital game. You can use it, you can lose it if you misplace your account, but otherwise you have it. In that sense, NFTs are kind of more like that, and they're not like a stock. Because again, you don't want to think of it as just something that it's just an IOU. It's something where you have a good that is a permanent piece of that thing that, you know, exists so long as that system to trade it and move it and use it exists. So, in a sense, if a game were to, instead of using the Steam marketplace, let's say it's a phone game, right? What does a phone look like? Let me draw Nokia. Yeah, somehow Nokia gets on brand, and then I don't know. Somehow they catch up with the modern world, and then they start making like smartphones, but still have the old keyboard setup. That'd be cool. I think it's like 3 buttons each. It's like a 3x3 grid. 3x4. Okay. Bam. Nokia phone. Alright. And they come out with a mobile game for this phone game, right? And it is a completely crazy free marketplace. And you know, you can put into NFTs any bit of data you want. You could harvest some, I don't know, apples, and you could sell that as an NFT. You could harvest a crate of apples and sell that as an NFT, right? You can put your character itself and sell it as an NFT with the stats. You can have your saved file, right? Your whole thing, your whole account basically, and package it and sell it. You can have, you know, anything that you want imaginable within that game system, you can have and you can trade to other players. through another marketplace. Now maybe they might have an internal trading system, right? Or maybe they just might have some kind of third system where they have these things traded, and then they decide to use cryptocurrency and make these into NFTs and whatnot. I don't know. But the idea is that it would be a game where you literally can pay to win beyond just the normal pay to win standards. Because normally, when it comes to pay to win, right, you're trading money. How do I put it? Yeah, okay. What are these, like gems? I think they always like to say gems. And this is like $10, and this one's like $1,000, right? Now, normally in these pay-to-win games, they say, okay, you could buy gems to buy this boost, to buy this item, or you could buy in our marketplace, but you have to give us, the company, directly $10, right? Or they could say, oh yeah, you could buy the game and unlock everything, but it costs $1,000, right? And again, most people would kind of brush it off and say, wow, this is nuts. And some people would pay for it, because why else would they have this kind of model unless there was at least one sucker to do it? Okay, so in this system, right, the house always wins because they take the full amount of the money, and it's cash money, right? And so they're just raking in the dollars and making lots of bank. But in this other system, it's functioning more like the Steam Marketplace again, because let's say, for example, there's a game that has a game system, and then you could package any aspect of that game, your goods, your services, your whatever. I don't know, your Pokemon, your legendary sword, your whole account, whatever. And rather than them getting all the money, instead it is the players that exchange goods and services amongst each other, and then they just get little bits of money from each of those transactions. So although NFTs might seem like a more laughable concept in that you could think, oh, well, what's the point? It's just like a picture. It's just a PNG. It's, well, why is it a big deal? Yeah, it is kind of funny. But as a concept in terms of a digital good having value, if it were to function more like the Steam Marketplace, then it can create game systems wherein games and developers could have a free marketplace where players can trade goods to each other, and then they just buy a little off the top. Now, why would anyone want this, right? It seems like it's just another marketing ploy for people to exploit gamers and all that stuff. Well, I can think of one very clear example, and that is online card games. What is it? Online, and not like a poker card. I mean like TCGs, like Magic Arena or Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Imagine, if you will, instead of having to buy a booster pack from the company and paying X amount of dollars or gems, right? Let's do 100 gems. Instead of buying a random pack from a company and having to pay dollars in gems, and then you get whatever you get, and then you're stuck with that good and service, right? So you're stuck with those cards, and they could all be poopy cards. You think, oh man, this is kind of bad. And of course, it's a digital game, so they would probably have systems in which they have like oh, you know, you're guaranteed to get a rare, or, oh, we're seeing you're getting this one, and we've perfectly calculated how much on average a person would spend, so they don't get frustrated and they feel like they got value, but then they come back for more, and then we give lesser and lesser value as they keep buying, right? They have this whole system for trying to extract the most amount of value, and it's very upsetting. Instead of that, right? Because also in these games, you cannot trade these cards. You're stuck with them. They're stuck to your account. And so instead of selling games or cards, players try to sell accounts. They say, here's my WoW account. Here's my Magic account. Here's my Blob RuneScape account. They sell accounts so that way they could try to get some money from it, because there is no pathway in which they can get value for these digital goods that they maybe worked hard on or spent money on. What if instead they embrace this bold new future of allowing players to repackage their items, hopefully, into the Steam marketplace, because I think it's a pretty good setup, right? But if they wanted to kind of do their own little system that is at least similar enough to that and not a ripoff, then they could say, well, what if we allow this kind of like digital marketplace and allow players to trade goods and services to each other, right? And the best example I can think is, again, Steam. The worst example I think would be Diablo 3. And Diablo 3, they had kind of an auction house system where players were able to sell, weapons and armor and stuff like that. Does this look like a shield? Yeah, sure. Why not? For actual money. And so they did try this, right? They did try it, that players would sell it to each other for actual money, and then they would exchange that money to each other. And again, it'd go into their Battle.net account. So it wouldn't be like for hard cash. It would be more like store credit, right? If you think of Steam dollars as a store credit, then you could think of this, Diablo Cash as basically buying store credit. So you can only go to that store to exchange it for goods. So they did try it. As for why they stopped it, it's because people felt like maybe they were being exploited. There was, I think, some glitches with it. Some were able to sell for exorbitant prices, or they might have misclicked. It was bold in that they tried it, but it ultimately failed because of lack of stepping in and kind of regulating it and kind of having it make sense. It was too wild of a Wild West. Now maybe if they let it run for longer and then they kind of fix some of their internal systems and problems with it, then maybe players would change their mind and think, okay, yes, this is pay to win, but who am I paying? Am I paying the company, $100, or am I paying this guy $99 and then, the company $1? And again, the way in which it was implemented and the way in which they sold it, I think, was very wrong, and so that's why it mostly failed. However, if you think about people who are gold buyers and gold sellers and gold farmers, right? What are they doing? They're doing kind of exactly this, and they're using third-party systems to kind of give golds and services. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I'm gonna just try to put that aside really quick, because I don't agree with it, but just to put that aside, that is a way in which someone can get goods and services in a game, right? But the thing is that because of particularities within that internal system, like let's say World of Warcraft, if you have gold, then that doesn't just mean that your own single player experience changes. You can actually have wider ramifications in the marketplace. If you have something like a GDKP, then that could be a major problem if you're buying gold, and that kind of causes everything to inflate, right? If you're buying stuff from the auction house, then that can be a problem if you're buying gold, because that causes everything to inflate. But, right, what if you were able to use either gold or a direct dollar currency to pay for these goods and items to another player who has made it and crafted it for you? How would that look like? Well, then that would look, in a way, sort of like the Steam Marketplace. And again, the main difference between the Steam Marketplace and other things is that the Steam Marketplace is almost purely cosmetic, right? You can't really buy power in the Steam Marketplace. You can buy looks, you can buy prestige, but you can't buy in-game power, right? But in games with PvP, in games where there's competition, like Diablo 3 and WoW, and in games where, you know, players are maybe fighting against each other, and there's no other way in which they can get these items otherwise, then that's a bad system. But let's say, for example, it's a system like a trading card game, where, you know, all you need is the piece. You don't need to have the fanciest piece, you need a piece. You can get, you know, maybe the digital version, the NFT, as it were, of the one ring, and you can get the fancy one, and this is going to sell for $1,000 or 5 million, whatever, and you could trade it to another player, and you can do that, or you can just get, you know, the regular version that another player is selling for like 30 cents, right? Then that would actually make things kind of fair and more free and more able, because it's not directly player power that you're competing with someone else. You're just mostly paying for the cosmetic, and the pieces to get it are cheap. So this is all really to say that as long as NFTs are used like TF2, right? And it's a pretty free market, or an altered version of how they do it for trading card games for online, then I don't think they're a bad idea. However, as NFTs are used now, they're terrible. And as ways that other games have tried to, you know, have players buy and trade goods to each other, like Diablo 3 and WoW, that's terrible. So it's unfortunate. I think and I hope someday in the future, if anyone makes a game, they would kind of embrace the Steam Marketplace model, and then I think that could be kind of revolutionary for allowing players to kind of trade goods and services in the digital world. But ultimately, right, if you zoom out and you really look back, as long as you know that, you know, money is money and these things aren't really that money, then that can help you can kind of control spending and think, okay, well, maybe I don't need this hat. Maybe I don't need this Charizard. Maybe I don't need this NFT. Maybe I don't need this player progression. Maybe I just need like a really nice dinner. And so, you know, keep that in mind, right? You gotta take care of yourself first with your actual money. And, oh, hey, okay, so I went a little over time, but that's fine, because I actually did start late. Hi. Oh, hello again. Hey, you joined just as I was ending my stream again. Oh, it's kind of funny timing, but hello. I'm glad you could make it. Today's lesson was kind of just all over the place a little bit, and it was talking, I didn't really have a plan, so I talked about money, because it's always funny. Oh, that rhymes. But yeah, today's lesson was that money is money, collectibles. How are you today? Oh, I'm doing quite well, thank you. I'm actually preparing for a trip. Oh, I don't know how to do this. I have to figure out how to let people know I will not be here next week, because I will be on vacation. So I gotta figure that out. But yeah, how are you doing today? Nathaniel Pro 123. Are you doing well? Are you excited for school to start? I'm good. Hey, that's good to hear. Sounds real good. Yeah. But yeah, I was just talking about how money is money, and you can't trade like Charizards for bread, so they're technically not money, and how stocks are also not money because they're technically IOUs, but then they're also not like equal to buying a physical piece of the company, because you don't get the coffee machine if it goes bankrupt. And the weird thing about NFTs is that, you know, even if everything else goes bankrupt, you still have the physical digital good of that one thing. And then comparing that to the Steam Marketplace, where in Steam, you know, even if the game goes offline or whatever, you still have that thing to play in the single player multiplayer experience, and you can kind of hold on to it no matter what the valuation of it is currently, and you could sell it later for what is equivalent to like store credit. And how it would be nice if other games kind of embrace this model, but how they failed to do that because they did it in games where buying these goods would actually equal player power, such as Diablo 3, instead of kind of doing it in a cosmetic way, like Team Fortress 2. And that the most ripe market for this kind of free trade system would actually be for online card games, wherein maybe you could have like a digital online card that's worth like an insane amount of money, and it's a one of one, but then you could get like, you know, the cheap one for like, you know, pennies on the dollar. And that was kind of a neat summary of what today was all about. Yeah. Alright, and there it is. But yeah, I didn't forget what you told me about talking about pi and finding the area and radians and unit circles. So I'm going to be missing next week, January 6th, because I didn't plan ahead properly to be able to make it in time. Like, I've been doing this stream every week for months now, and you know, rain or shine, healthy or sick, but man, I did not account for literally being on the road with no internet. So there it is. I planned poorly, but I will be back on the 13th, and then I'll cover directly that kind of stuff, actual math. Of course, unless someone wants to stop by and need help with something else, then yeah, I'll probably just switch to that. But yeah, I think that's it for today, cause I still gotta pack. Yeah. All right. But thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Yeah. And if again you don't come by in 2 weeks and you come by like months later, that's totally fine. There's no rush. We're all chill here. And until then, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night.